Hey guys, Joe here with JoeMartinMVC, and today we're going to take a look at Turtle Wax's Ice Snow Foam Wash Hybrid. Before we begin, let's take a look at what we're working with. Here's my 2014 Tesla Model S, which has not been washed in about 2 weeks. But it did just take a 400-mile road trip at night, going from Florida to Mississippi and back, so it's covered with some pretty nasty road grime and a lot of bugs. Today's our first product from Turtle Wax with their Ice Snow Foam Wash, which combines ultra-rich foam conditioners with biodegradable detergents, allowing you to safely clean and preserve paint finishes. It can be applied in 2 different methods, either by a hand wash with a bucket or through a foam sprayer. We'll go through both options here to see how well they work for us. Let's get to it. We're going to start off with using our pressure washer with a foam lance to get a thick and rich foam across the surface. Per the instructions, we want to use anywhere from 1 to 6 ounces of product to 16 ounces of water. Since the car is pretty gross, I'm going to opt for the maximum of 6 ounces here. Personally, I prefer to use something like a measuring cup or funnel to pour water into these smaller bottles so it doesn't end up causing the solution to bubble up on us too much. And also, this is bubblegum scented, and it definitely reminds me of the bubblegum fluoride that was used back in grade school. Anyways, let's continue. We always want to start off with a general rinsing of the surface, which I'm doing here by just spraying down the surface from a distance to get it nice and wet. From here we move on to actually using the foam lance, and I have to say, it definitely produces a nice and thick foam that coats the surface. And the smell is in full bloom when it's sprayed like this. Now to actually test out the lubricity of the cleaner as we use a microfiber cloth to go across the surface. I'm using a 2-bucket method to keep my cloth as clean as possible, with a grit guard in the bottom of both the buckets you see. You'll also want to wipe going from top to bottom and frequently clean out your cloth as you go. With the thick foam on the surface, my cloth is effortlessly gliding across the surface and picking up any debris and contaminants along the way. The foam is thick enough that it doesn't sound like it's scratching the surface at all, and I should mention that I'm using little to no pressure here on my cloth, just enough to keep it in contact with the surface. Also, if you're doing this on a bright and sunny day, you'd likely only want to foam a couple of panels at a time, so you don't end up having any of the foam or wash dry on the surface, as that would heavily decrease its effectiveness. Once we've gone over the whole area that we're wanting to wash, we'll go ahead and grab our pressure washer to remove the soap from the surface. One thing that I do have to give Turtle Wax credit for is the foam actually comes off pretty easily. I've worked with a number of foam washes in the past where the foam just continues to seem to cling to the surface even when you're trying to pressure wash it off. So, good job. Next up is drying off the surface, as you never want to leave standing water on the vehicle. My method of choice is using a leaf blower or drying vac, as the less you touch the paint while washing the vehicle, the better it is for the surface, and the less scratches and swirls you'll instill into the paint. Now, one thing to note is that, typically speaking, you won't see water just shoot off the surface as you do here. This half of my car is actually fully coated with Turtle Wax's Ice Seal and Shine Sealant, which will be covered in another video later this week. It was actually a product I had applied and used prior to Turtle Wax reaching out to me, and I definitely have to sing its praises as the product works extremely well, but more on that in a follow-up video. Once it's almost completely dry, I do go over the surface real quick with a high pile microfiber cloth, just to clean up the last few drops of water, as well as to inspect the surface. Other foams I've worked with in the past leave horrendous streaks or stains going down the car, and I can gladly say that the ice snow foam wash did not leave any streaks or marks on the car, and leaves a high gloss and clean finish. Just a quick after view to show the beautiful and high gloss finish that's left after you wash all the soap away. Now we're going to move on to the nose cone and the hood, which took the worst of the bugs and grime from our road trip. We're laying down just a fresh layer of foam first, as the prior layer had mostly dripped and melted off. Same as before, we're using the 2 buckets still to clean off the nose cone and the hood. Both the buckets are just filled with water, there's no soap that's been added to either one. And I opted to foam the nose cone and hood as the pressure washer will do a better job at getting more of the soap to soak into the grime and bugs than if I were to hand wash it. Also, make sure to stay tuned to the end of the video where I'll show off something rather odd that happened after the wash with the soap that ran off the vehicle. Once we've wiped down the whole area, we'll use our pressure washer to remove the excess soap and then dry everything off. My pressure washer is an electric washer that puts out 2000 psi, and I use a 15-degree nozzle, making sure to stay around 2 feet away from the car to ensure I don't damage anything. I always start as close to the top as I can and work my way down, trying to minimize slinging soapy water over the rest of the car that's either not being washed or has already finished being washed and dried. And sadly, we don't have the footage of me drying this area or the after shot, as apparently the GoPro corrupted the footage, which I didn't know about. But I can happily say that the Turtle Wax Ice Snow Foam made the bugs effortlessly come off and left a high quality shine still without damaging anything or instilling additional swirls or scratches. On to the second method for washing using Turtle Wax's Ice Snow Foam Wash. Add 1 ounce per gallon of water into a bucket and use a heavy stream of water to get the soap to suds up for you. In this case I used 4 ounces of soap. We started off with 2 gallons of water in the bucket, added the soap, and then added another 2 gallons. I do it this way because otherwise you'll just have foam overflowing out of your bucket and not know how much water you actually added. Just like last time, we can notice the large amount of road grime, specifically right behind the wheel and here on the windshield as well. We start off by hosing down the car to get it nice and wet to begin with. Then we dip our microfiber cloth into the foam, making sure to get it nice and wet for us. Starting at the front, we work our way from top to bottom, ensuring we keep a nice amount of soap on our cloth at all times. We're using a 2-bucket method here to try and keep our cloth as clean as possible. The yellow and red buckets are just water with a grit guard at the bottom, so we dip our cloth in first, rub it against the grit guard, and then go to our green Turtle Wax bucket with our soap and do the same thing, making sure we pick up a large amount of soap on our way out. Make sure to use gentle pressure as you make your passes around the vehicle. The foam should be lifting the dirt and grit off the car and add enough lubrication to not scratch the car. If it was excessively filthy, you would definitely want to go the more high pressured route, like at the beginning of the video, to get a majority of the large grime or dirt off. But since we're only dealing with road grime and some bugs, the hand wash method works perfectly here. Once you've gone over the whole car, just rinse off all of the soap, making sure to check to see if any soap ran off on the other side. If it did, make sure to rinse that off as well. And once again, I'm using my leaf blower to go ahead and dry the car off instead of using a microfiber cloth. And also, I'm still pleasantly surprised at how well the soap comes off and doesn't leave any residue for us. Our close-up that we weren't able to get with the nose cone due to the GoPro failing me, but you can see a beautiful and high gloss finish is able to be achieved via hand wash as well, and it successfully removed all the road grime and bugs for us. And before we get to the end of the video with a little odd surprise, I just want to give a quick thanks to Turtle Wax for giving me this opportunity to try out and review their products, and as always, if you guys like my content, make sure to like, comment, subscribe, and hit that notification bell to stay up to date with new content as it comes out. Thanks for watching.
So I noticed something as I was coming home after it's rained. All these white spots are actually Turtle Wax soap. The runoff from the Turtle Wax foam wash from yesterday. So it's been literally 24 hours, or has it been longer? When did I record that? It's been 48 hours, sorry, since I washed the car. Because it was, it was Wednesday. And yet, now that it's raining, it's sudsing up my driveway, which is very interesting, and not something I expected to see.